Welcome to the Career Meets World podcast. It is so good to have you on today. How's everything going?
Doing amazing.
Awesome. I love to hear that. Look, we always have a lot to talk about, and I want to make sure that our audience gets to know you as best as possible and learn as much as they can about everything you're working on in the world of AI. So, we're going to get into that in a second, but I want to make sure they hear from you. Can you share a little bit about your journey, where you're coming from?
I'm pretty new to United States again. I came here for my master's in data science. I did that in Columbia University, and I have been in New York for a very long time. I recently moved to California, so I'm working in IBM as a AI and ML innovation leader. So I work very closely with the data scientists. I was doing data science myself. So I've been moving into a little bit of leadership position to what I was doing earlier. So currently I'm working on some industry research, trying to understand where different industries are moving towards, what are the different kinds of technological advances that's been going on, and what are the requirements that we need to incorporate in IBM's workflow and IBM's product pipelines, and to make the most of it for the businesses. So that's what I'm currently working on.
I love hearing that. And I know a big part of your overall story is your journey to the States and everything you've been able to accomplish here. I know oftentimes for a lot of people, that transition is not really easy. Can you share a little bit more about the whole immigration process? What actually excited you to come to the States back in 2017?
I think one of the major reasons I wanted to come to the States was because of the professors. I was doing a lot of research while I was in my undergraduate studies. It was very fascinating to me even back then. When I was in India doing my undergraduate studies in computer science, I got introduced to data science and machine learning. And it was just because of the internships that I did that I got to understand what industry has to offer in this space. So it was much more than what we saw in academics. It was much more than what we saw in research projects or anything like that. So what the industry wanted, what were the skill gaps, what were the challenges that businesses faced in terms of productionalizing such data science and machine learning models in their workflow was very different. So with my internships, that's what I learned. And I was very fascinated by some of the professors in Columbia University. And that's why I specifically chose Columbia University, because of the kind of work they did. One of the professors was Andres Miller. He was working on scikit-learn, and he's even currently a co-developer in scikit-learn. And he's always been like, one of the greatest mentors I can ever ask for. I did get an opportunity to work with him, and it was a life changing opportunity that I had to work on, what is more materialism in terms of what's being used in real life. So working on something which is going to be used by millions of users, by millions of data scientists out there, was extremely fascinating. So that's one of the opportunities which I saw in the United States, where I did have the opportunity to apply the things that I'm learning into an industrial perspective. So that's what fascinated me: the professors, the kind of research that was going on in Columbia, and the kind of exposure that was available to all the students. So that was my reason to come to Columbia.
That's great. And I know oftentimes that people talk about having mentors or great professors that inspire them, and you just alluded to one specifically. What do you think about the individual drew you in? The reason I ask is because oftentimes people don't know how to seek out the right mentors or the right people to support them. So,
Yeah.
what exactly are you looking for in an individual to make sure that they're supporting you consistently?
So one of the things that I look for in a mentor is their passion in helping you to grow. So that's something which I see in a very less number of crowd. One of the major reasons what I could accomplish was entirely because of the mentors that I've had throughout my life. It's not just in professional life, it's also through, making small decisions in your life. Hey, I don't know like if making this decision is a good thing. Like any major minor decisions in my life, I do reach out to my mentors, I do take their opinion, because they have seen life much more than me, and they have had these experiences at a much earlier stage. So I do seek out to my mentors and ask for their advice over the different decisions that I'm pursuing. And I feel like one of the greatest assets that I would say I have is their passion and their interest to see me grow. Like they keep pushing me towards my goals, and they keep helping me grow myself, they keep helping me upskill, they keep helping me, set higher goals for myself and not settle for less. So that's the kind of push that has always kept me driven.
I love that. So I know that post 2017, post Columbia, you've accomplished so much. I know you're doing so many different things at IBM right now. And I want to make sure that we spend a little bit of time unpacking what you're focused on as it comes to artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let's give people the crash course who are fascinated with the space, but don't necessarily know much about it. Can you talk a little bit about how you got into the field, what excites you about it, and what is it?
So currently, as I mentioned, like my undergraduate studies was in computer science. So I have been mostly inclined towards hands-on machine learning, hands-on data science, and building models. And recently, I have been trying to get into the space where I am working more closely towards products and more closely towards industry. So what fascinates me in the field is the amount of variety that you can achieve. Data science is pretty much applicable in any field that you can talk about, right from like sports analytics, right from the Netflix recommendation that you're getting, from having your phone answer to their questions, from your phone telling you like helping you with setting up the call, setting up alarms, etc. So pretty much everything has some parts of data science and machine learning attached to it. And it really fascinates me on the variety that it has to cater, not just in terms of like tech, but also in healthcare, in terms of automobile. Like I have a Tesla, and it's amazing to see like the kind of features that goes into it. So I just want to explore more industries and more use cases, and where all this can be applied, and make it into a tangible product, like make it into something that can be used by you, me, or everyone else.
I love that. So you jumped into it, and now what are you working on specifically to the extent that you can share with us as it relates to IBM?
So currently, there are two pieces which I'm majorly focusing on. One is trustworthy AI, on building more resilient systems, more responsible AI systems. So this comes from like three different sections. One, you have to focus on the process, on how you are building the entire pipeline of how your agile methodology, or like any scrum method that you're using, how does it fit into the process of your project building. Two is the technology that you're using, on how do you make sure that the data that you're using is unbiased, how do you make sure that the model building is unbiased, how do you make sure that there's the privacy which is enabled, how do you make sure the robustness is in place, etc. Also, there's another part called people, where we are trying to make sure that we have all different perspectives of a human, from coming from a human perspective into the products that we're building. For example, like we had recently like seen one of the use cases which failed really badly with facial recognition, where the model was trained on celebrity data set with celebrity images, and it unfortunately was classifying black women as men. So that was a very alarming situation, because the data itself which was going into the model was biased. The data itself was not representing the actual population. Also, there's another aspect of it, that it did not have the right kind of people sitting on the table and building these products. If there were equal number of diverse and inclusive people involved in this entire process, then it would have been more resilient, it would have been encompassing the public, or like the population aspect into it better. So that these are the three sections which fall into the trustworthy AI systems which I'm working on. And the other research that is parallelly going on is around federated learning, on how we can build like decentralized model when we like on decentralized data. So the model building is happening on one central server, and the data is being decentralized basically.
Interesting. So, as we can imagine, a lot of these systems are built by human beings, so the natural bias will be programmed into the algorithm unless we intentionally extract it out. So, I like that you point that out because oftentimes people think that the computer is smarter than the human being, but the human being is the one actually programming the computer initially. So, that's a really critical component. As you look towards kind of the future of AI and a lot of the external things you're doing outside of AI or outside of IBM, what excites you the most? What are you looking forward to in terms of kind of the growth and progression of the space?
Currently, I'm pretty much focused on my company, which is like a volunteer startup that I've created called Illuminate AI, which is a mentorship platform. I'm, as I mentioned, like everything that I've achieved in my life, everything does attribute to the mentors that I've always had, to the amazing advice that I've always had from people who have experienced it firsthand. So that's the motivation that I had behind building Illuminate AI as a mentorship platform, where people can connect and find the right mentors for themselves. And even for mentors, they can not just connect and help out the community and help the new people grow into the career, but also can leverage the network that I'm building on the other hand, for helping them in leadership and networking. So that's something which is a value add for the mentors who are joining the platform, and working with the mentees to help them progress in their career. So with Illuminate AI, there's a lot more events and like sessions and a lot more different things going on. So right now my focus is on that outside of IBM, where I'm trying to build this community where we have all these folks working in the field of machine learning and AI, and they can collaborate. There's much more visibility for everyone. For example, as we see that machine learning or like AI is not a very mature field. It's been probably there for a decade. So how do you make it more mature? How do you make it so accessible to people, so easily understandable to people? That's my motivation in building this community.
What do you think will actually help the adoption process for AI and machine learning across the board? I know there's individuals like yourself who promote it through a variety of different avenues, whether it be LinkedIn, Illuminate AI, just conversations, but what's going to help bring it to scale?
I think it's just trust that's missing with AI systems, because we have in the past seen systems acting in a very weird fashion. We have seen systems doing terrible things, right? If I were to put it that way, we have seen, or we could just say that buggy systems, right? We have seen AI systems going wrong in a lot of different aspects. And that's what pulls down the trust that people have in such systems. We have to keep working more and more on these systems. We have to keep iterating. We have to keep debugging what we have been working on. We have to keep facing these challenges and resolve these challenges and bring this technology to a position where people are able to trust it. For example, like back then when we did not have internet, when we did not have smartphones, there was a friction when these technology actually came into the market till when it was actually adopted. So that friction is basically the ease of use and the trust behind it. So that's what everybody in the field is trying to build. That's what we are like hustling behind, that we can build that trust, we can build that ease of use with the AI systems, that it can actually be adopted in a widespread fashion.
I love that. So I know a lot of people listening oftentimes look at different career paths, and AI, machine learning, as you and I both know, is, let's just say, it's going to continue to grow and expand into every single area of industry. What would be some of your recommendations for people who are interested in the space to either get started or how they should continue their education?
So I feel with respect to like data science and machine learning in general, there are some foundational components which cannot be ignored. Things like statistics, things like probability, things like knowing some sections of programming, data structures, algorithms. That is the foundational base of it. So that is something which is required, and you do need to have a good grasp on these things before building on top of it. Once you do have like the base set, that's when you decide on what is your specialization. It could either be in a particular stream or a particular industry, or it could be something where you're only working on specific kinds of algorithms. For example, you could only be focusing on computer vision, you could only be focusing on natural language processing, or you could only be focusing on robotics. So you have to like find your niche, find your interest and your specialization, where you say that, hey, I am interested in healthcare and I want to get into robotics. So that's where, once you know your specialization, you grow yourself in that specific niche.
I see. So going forward, you're going to continue to grow, illuminate AI. One, I want to make sure that people can get involved. So, what is the easiest way for people to either get in touch with you or illuminate AI?
Absolutely. So you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to do that. With respect to like getting involved in Illuminate AI, if you are interested in either being a mentor or a mentee, then the application forms and like all the information are available on the website. If you would want to be a part of the team, then of course, like I am like hiring a lot of people in terms of helping me out with graphics, in terms of web development, in terms of cohort management, program management, etc. So there's a lot of things going on in the team. So if you are interested to contribute to the team, then of course, like I'm very happy to have you on board.
Awesome. So make sure to check that out. We'll include all the information in the show notes. But outside of that, just what's next for you? You're going to continue to grow, expand personally. What do you see as kind of your career progression moving within this industry and beyond?
I think I'm very interested in getting things into production. So that's something which really motivates me to see things working, like not something on paper, not something which is an ideation. I want things to be working. I want to have more proof of concepts, more working results on whatever theory has been proposed, or like whatever research has been going on. So my focus is been on, okay, how do I pull up one piece of research paper which says that there are amazing things going on, and how do I put it into use? How does it create a business value? So that's my motivation, and that's the career path I am moving towards. I feel like I do enjoy leadership to some extent, where I get to work and collaborate with a lot of people, and I do get to take responsibilities over things. So that's something I really enjoy. So that's what I'm going to be planning in my professional career. In terms of like personal growth, I think I have made it a point that I'm going to travel a lot. Like hiking is one of my favorite activities, which I try to do literally every week. But I am planning to like travel more, explore more, because yeah, I mean, like that's what life is for, right?
Absolutely. There's always more to work. There's more to life than work, but
Yeah.
I think the that tees me up for a really important question, which is you're coming from a country that has a lot of incredible minds, and obviously AI and data science, machine learning continues to expand globally. Where do you see it growing the most in terms of the international space? Because it's not as easy to get involved in every single country. So I want to make sure that people have a good perspective on that.
So there's a lot of aspect to what you asked, Ed. It's not just about the kind of research or the kind of work that's going on in different countries. There's like so many more things to it. You need the right kind of resources. You need the right kind of companies that you can work with. You need the right kind of job opportunities and availabilities. So there's a lot of pieces that needs to fall in place for a country to progress in an absolutely new technology. And currently I feel India is doing a great job in the kind of research that they are um, encouraging. Even in my university, from where I graduated, Vella Institute of Technology, they have been pushing out a lot in terms of like research. They've been pushing out a lot in terms of helping people do capstone related projects, helping them do internships and do project based learning. So that's where I feel like there's a lot of push, there's a lot of exposure that people are getting, which probably like 10 years ago it was not available. So I think there's a lot more growth that I see recently, and I'm really positive on how it's growing.
Awesome. It's always good to hear that the industry is going to continue to expand and grow. Before we let all of our guests off the hook, though, we always want to make sure that we throw them into the hot seat to make sure we could try to stump you with some random questions. So, are you ready for this?
Yes.
Awesome. Let's do it. So, I think an important thing to understand is that people have a hyper focused area in life. For you, it's become this world of data science, machine learning. If that didn't exist, what would you be doing with all of your time?
I think I'm really, really passionate about fitness. So that's probably the other thing that I would be doing. I'm currently trying to balance my life in work and do my Krav Maga that I do every day. So yeah, I would probably be probably a martial art person or something.
Awesome. That's great to hear that you're focused on fitness. Question number two for you is, if you had to read one book for the rest of time, what would that book be?
Ikigai. That's like my go-to read. Every time I, like sometimes it happens, right? Like I'm not sure, but like this happens to me a lot where I'm losing track on, like what am I even focusing on? Because there's a lot of distractions in life. So you sometimes do lose track on what's your focus. So that's the time I go back to Ikigai and read a few pages out of it. And I don't know, like the book is structured in such a positive note that it just like brings back my motivation. It just brings back that drive in me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And third and final question for you, completely random. Where do you see the intersection of cryptocurrency and data science?
Well, I am an investor. I'm a very ardent investor, both in cryptocurrency and in stock market. I do feel there's a lot of intersection in cryptocurrency and data science. Especially like I was once talking to one of my friends who works in blockchain, and the kind of work that they have been doing and the kind of potential that I see, I feel like the market is not ready for what it has to offer. It might be a slow progression, but I do trust on it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending so much time with us today. Really appreciate everything that you're doing, both for the mentees that you're working with at Illuminate AI and the work that you're doing at IBM. Thank you so much for spending time with us today on the Career Meets World podcast. And as we always say here, go unleash your wildest potential.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.